Now we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty of what Indians are all about.
I still say we Indian people are believers in the truth. This is the way of life that was given to your people. You're born an Indian, you're going to die an Indian. Indianness is a good life. You're facing an Indian this afternoon.
Good Saturday afternoon out there, everyone, and welcome. It's your #1 source for Native American television news, Native News Today. Alongside Kyla McGowan, I'm Jason Salzman, welcoming you in on this special day because, Kyla, as they all know and have been waiting for, it's time for the Halloween special.
Yeah, we love Halloween. We're all excited around the office, too.
Yeah, and there's been a lot going on the last week. I don't know about you, but it's almost coming up for air after last week. There was so much going on.
There really was so many events, and we were trying to make it to all of them.
I know we actually made it, and you'll see some things in the coming weeks because we can't put it all on one episode, but we'll definitely show the fruits of our labor on the program. But we have a great episode this week too. Last week was actually the historic Council Oak ceremony, and I know a lot of people around here love that.
Definitely. It was great to bring it all back to Tulsa, and especially with NCAI in town also.
I think that made it even a bigger deal than it usually is. So many people, and some of them just sticking around to see, hey, us giving homage to where we started here in Indian Territory and where the city of Tulsa really started. So we're going to have that, plus spooky little look at the Grisso Mansions in Seminole Nation. Do you like ghost stories or haunted houses?
Yeah, I love all that.
I figured you did. I had a hunch. So we're going to show you some of that too, and also we'll talk with Molly Moore at MNBE. They have a big job fair coming up, and you actually did a little piece on the paper about how they're expanding their businesses too. So there's a lot of exciting stuff going on.
Definitely. They do have a lot going on.
I know, and Woody Anderson, those people over there, excited about that. So MNBE with a big job fair coming up, and we wanted to pub that because it's coming up next week. A lot of other great stories, great information, and plus some crazy stuff happening in some of our stories that I don't think anybody out there is ready for. We're going to show you anyway. So we're going to take our first break. Please come back and watch more Native News Today right after this.
Jahojefkat Paul Fixakodos. Ikanagat Tekobache, Mikusapkajokonman, Amikusapkajokodos. I'm able to preach in English and Muskogee, our language too, so there's not many that does that today. When I was growing up, that's all we had, Muskogee language, and that's all they preach. I could talk my language when I was small. When I grew up, I could understand what they were saying. We don't want to lose that, language, especially our songs, our native songs and the Muskogee hymns. We want to keep them.
Pumakasam gadat, ibufanga, nage, adigat, punhayadit omega.
Diosnuk, that's true. Throughout the generations, our elders have taught us to preserve, share, and more importantly, protect the abundant natural resources we have here in Oklahoma. We are the original environmentalists and protector of these resources. The Muskogee Creek Nation believes tribal and state governments must work together to ensure future generations will have clean air and clean water as the ultimate legacy. What is good for Oklahoma tribal nations is good for all Oklahomans. Remember, tribes are truly the original Oklahomans.
The Muskogee language has always been a part of my life, and so I grew up speaking the language, and I've used it throughout my life. I found that people were interested in learning the language and wanting to revitalize it. The language immersion method of teaching is one that I'm comfortable with. It's a way of reconnecting with our histories and our cultures, and to give this gift or pass this gift on to our children. Mado, hadam chihijahlis.
Hey, welcome back to Native News Today, along with Kyle McGowan and Jason Salzman, and so glad you're joining us this week. We're going to start things off as the Creek Nation started them off here in Oklahoma at the Council Oak Tree. The ceremony happening there last weekend, and it's such a big thing for our people.
It really was, and I think it was really important just to have all the other tribes in for NCAI and just to start off the 70th anniversary there, and then just to really bring it back to Tulsa where it started.
You got it, right there at the massive Council Oak. The Lechaboga people, they said this is where our establishment's going to be. They settled there looking down on the river, and now you see this big beautiful city sprouted around it. From humble beginnings, I guess you could say, right there. But the Creek Nation has been there throughout, and we touched a little bit on the story about how the Creek Nation and the city of Tulsa has sort of had this lengthy relationship together that it keeps growing and growing to where it's at now. It's really neat, and the people are sort of a metaphor of the tree. The Muskogee Creek Nation gathered at Council Oak Park in downtown Tulsa on Saturday, October 19th to commemorate the arrival of Muskogee people to Indian Territory. The Lechaboga people made the long, hard journey on the Trail of Tears, and in 1836 settled under the massive oak as a high point along the river. This settlement was the beginning of what we now know as the city of Tulsa.
I want to welcome you to this annual commemoration of a very historic part of our history, and I believe it's important that we remember those that came before us. It is said by our elders that after that long journey, a journey that is one of the darkest days in the history of this country, that they came and they knelt under the Council Oak tree and said a prayer. And they were thankful, those that survived such a trip, for being able to come and see a long trip like that come to a conclusion. But they also prayed about those that they lost along the trail and those that they couldn't really provide in a way that we do when we lose loved ones. And it is from that humble beginning that we as Muskogee Idalwadoya that we've had a start of where we're at today. It's my hope and it's my prayer that we'll never forget those that came before us.
The city of Tulsa recognizes the significance of this ceremony and have made a commitment to the tree and the park as a sign of respect for the city's history.
As I said, my family came here about 1910, and of course the families of everybody here, of the Muskogee Creek Nation, were here many decades before that. So to understand that there was already preparation done, that there's already traditions made, that there's already stability made when my family got here, and much of that because of the Muskogee Creek Nation. History really is a great teacher for all of us, and understanding our respective histories and each other's histories and respecting those histories is very, very important, because it provides stability. It provides our recognition that each of us have roots and that each of us deserves the recognition of those roots, but also each of us deserves the relationship between all of us. Too often I've seen in the past when that relationship didn't exist. Now it does exist, and it's so much better, so much easier to get along.
Creek Nation officials are proud of the fact that relations with the city of Tulsa have been strengthened. The relationship has been made a top priority.
One of the very first things I talked to Chief Tiger about, when he was inaugurated, I came in about the same time, and we were lucky because Mayor Bartlett is very approachable, and we both, with just in a little short amount of time, had a relationship established with him. And as you can see, he's been to a couple of press conferences related to the business on Riverside Drive. He understands it, and I was telling my family it's the first time my Indian tribe's been given the right amount of respect in Tulsa, and it's starting right now.
When I came in as chief, I wanted to make it a priority to reestablish relationships. As people know, Muskogee Creek Nation shares a lot of communities in our jurisdiction, and I wanted to establish relationships where we all bring something to the table. You know, we're all resources. And I think whenever Mayor Bartlett and I visited, and we felt like that it was important that we establish and solidify a relationship that would reflect what we're doing today, and I believe it has.
Standing strong for hundreds of years, the tree is a symbolic reminder of the strength and endurance of the Muskogee people.
The tree grows from its trunk, and the strength of a tree is that trunk. And I think it's reflective of the history of the Muskogee people. And I think it's reflective of this community, the city of Tulsa, how the tree has grown and branched out. That's what I think both the city of Tulsa and the Muskogee Creek Nation are doing too today. You know, we're doing things together where it impacts the whole community. And again, I just think that the history of this tree has also established a history of some communities as well.
All right, moving right along. It was so great to be there too at Council Oak ceremony. Lots of people out. Always a great time. Maybe though, if you spook a little bit easy, this next story won't be a great time, or a visit to this next feature won't be a great time. But I think it will be if you're in for a good time and really some neat history and things like that at the Grisso Mansion. It's very important for the Seminole area, and that area. It's been in, historically, it's been a big part of that area for a long time. So the Seminole Nation recently purchased it, took ownership of it, and now what's neat is they're doing like little ghost story tours through there. And I don't know, I'm not really good with stuff like that, but you like haunted houses and everything.
Yeah,
so.
that is fun. I want to go over there sometime.
You need to check it
I'll
out.
have to see it
Well, that's what Amanda Rutland did, our intern here. Well, actually, she's on now full time. That's really good news to be able to pass along. But Amanda went over there and talked with the good people, and they're doing tours all the time. You should check it out.
My name is Stephanie Lambert, and I am currently the Grisso Mansion events planner. We acquired the property in August of 2012, so we've been here for just over a year. They began to build it in 1926. They completed it in 1928. It was completed the same year as the Governor's Mansion. This mansion cost $700,000 to complete. The Governor's Mansion cost $75,000 to complete. Ballpark figure. So when you come in here, you can start to look at the detail, and you can see where the money went. Of course, the money that built the Grisso Mansion came from the oil boom of 1926 in Seminole, Oklahoma. And Seminole's population in that time went from about 1,700 people to over 180,000 people within a matter of weeks. There was not enough housing, of course, so people lived in tents and wherever else they could build it. There was a lot of shotgun shacks that came up in that time frame. It was built by W.E. Grisso, who was known as Doc Grisso because he was a local pharmacist. He came to Seminole in 1903. He had actually 3 wives that we've heard of anyway. 2 documented wives. There's a second wife in between that we haven't documented. Now we have verified, the first wife, her name was Olive, and she had 2 children. She died during childbirth of the second child. Shortly after that, her daughter Olive passed away as well. And both Olive and baby Olive were buried on the property. Later on, Maggie Grisso she became his second wife. Between Maggie and Olive, there's rumors that there was a young Seminole woman that became his bride to help him with his infant children, and she died of pneumonia. There's a lot of tales around Seminole that say that her family started to disappear one by one, and they're the actual family that owned this property right here that we're sitting on. They were the Fixico family, which was the first oil well to hit in Seminole County, and it was called the Fixico No. 1. But that family, one by one, started to die mysteriously, and she was one of the last final heirs to that oil. And that kind of sets the background for the ghost tours. Now, once again, we don't know exactly what happened in the house, but we do know that there is something going on in the house at nighttime mostly. During the daytime, we have a little bit, but at the nighttime. So the ghost tours, we don't jump out with chainsaws or anything like that. We just turn the lights down low. It happens at night. And we just lead you through the house until we mix the history of the house in with the history of the Seminole people and the history of the town of Seminole, and then tell you of all the experiences that people have experienced inside the house. And the kids are real sensitive to that, and we know as Native American people that we say that our kids are more sensitive to that because they have that innocence to them. One of our ghost tours last year, we had one little boy to say, "Hey, who's that little boy in the ballroom that wanted me to stay?" He said his name was Miko. Why does he want me to stay here? And he said, and then our tour guide said, "Why don't you just stay with the group and just come on here?" There's been other instances where we've seen a little boy on the property, and then we went to and he's gone. And he's usually a little Indian boy, I would say probably 9 or 10 years old. That's about the same age as the little boy that came up during our ghost tour. There was a family that had rented it out for a Thanksgiving dinner, and they just rented out the top area. They weren't really supposed to be in the basement. One of the gentlemen that was with them, he said, "Take a picture of me playing my guitar in the Grisso Mansion ballroom." And so he tells his little niece this, and so she has a little iPhone, and she's trying to figure out how to get it onto camera from video. Well, in that 7-second clip, there's a form of a being that comes out from one side of her, and it runs around to the other side of her, and you can see the being, and you can see it's a person. It's about the same size as the 8-year-old little girl. That was one thing that we couldn't deny. Once we saw that, and then they slowed it down. And the ballroom is right next door to the laundry room, and it's a big open room. Logically, if you were cleaning and doing your stuff, that would be the room where you would set your kid to play, because there's nothing that they can break in there. That's where he's seen the most.
Okay, our next story takes us up the road to Riverwalk in Jinx, under the management now of Muskogee Nation Business Enterprise. Boy, there's a lot of things under the management now of MNBE because they're doing so many things and branching out different business interests. It's really an exciting time over there.
It really is, and I think especially with the job fair coming up, they have a lot of job opportunities for all kinds of citizens and to just go into any field they want, really.
I think it's cool too. You hit the nail on the head. There's so many different opportunities, and they're offering a little bit of something in so many different fields. You know, not only is it a large number, but it's differentiated from the others too, and it can be so many different things, whether it be food service or on the international side and the business holdings. It's really an exciting time over there. And we talked with Molly Moore with MNBE, who's sort of putting together schedules at the Riverwalk for some outdoor festivals and things like that. There's a Native Festival coming up, but we talked with her about this job fair because they're really excited about that, getting some good people in and hiring Creek people for these businesses. You know, Molly, when we talk about MNBE now, there's so many different things, and as we say, we're here at the offices of Muskogee Creek Nation at Riverwalk. There's certainly a presence here now, but a lot of other things that you guys are doing, investing in people. And I know coming up on October the 29th, you got a great event at the ballroom there at Stoneblade, another MNBE business venture. But there's an event coming up there, really a recruitment that you guys are very excited about.
Yes, it is October the 29th at Stoneblade in Okmulgee. It's our restaurant, and it's also part of the golf course that's there. We are going to take lots of individuals and put them through a screening of resumes. They're going, you know, they need to be ready for work that day. They'll do drug screenings. It's going to be the whole 9 works, and, you know, trying to get people hired for all of our businesses.
It's so cool too because there's so many opportunities for them. With all the businesses now that MNBE is over, there's so many opportunities in different fields and you know, specific, I guess you could say, you know, job titles and things like that, to where it offers a little bit of an opportunity of advancement and career choices for people that, you know, in this area, in our rural area of Okmulgee, may be looking for something like that, and it's all set up there for them.
Yes, it's going to go from the international part of MNBE to the corporate office in Okmulgee, and either it could be from receptionist to someone, you know, working with the golf course, for someone to work in fire and safety that we offer as well.
Perfect. I think it's going to be great. That also, do not forget November 1st and 2nd, the Native Fall Fest out here and the Native Made Arts Festival, Tourism and Recreation, really doing big things, and linked up with MNBE. It's going to be a great partnership. So for many, many years to come, Molly, thanks for stopping by with us, Yvette. Okay, now our next story, folks, this is when the fun comes in. We're, you know, I don't really know much about it. I know that they've told me that I needed 1 minute to pitch to our next and last story, which apparently it's a little bit of a documentary on some of the stuff we're doing here at Native News Today. Not much more to it than that, I guess. But they're kind of keeping me on the dark on this thing. I don't know what the deal is.
Yeah, I don't either.
You don't?
I have no idea.
Have they told you?
No, I don't know what to expect.
You're holding something back, aren't you? I know that they've said that this is going to be something cool for the audience, that we're going to kind of lift the veil back or whatever, or like, you know, kind of expose what's going on at Native News Today. That's cool with me. I'm all about transparency at the program. So I do know it's a little bit Halloween themed maybe, but it has to be, right? Because this is a Halloween special. But anyway, enjoy, folks. This should be really fun, and we'll be back in a minute.
I'm Mort Rainey. I'm the tech specialist here at BPR in Burbank, California. BPR is the Burbank Paranormal Research Facility here in Burbank. So we were contacted by Native News today there in Oklahoma about some footage and some paranormal activity perhaps, or objects that they could not identify in some video footage that they had. Upon looking at the footage the first time, I wasn't exactly sure what I was looking at. See, most of the time when you get footage brought in, it's people think they have different apparitions, or a lot of the times they think they have a ghost. It's their great-grandmother coming back to visit them, and 99.9% of the time it's just a lens flare or some type of smudge on a lens or something like that. This was very different. The object is in the background. It passes behind things in the foreground, and more importantly than that, it's not even noticed. They brought to my attention that it was something that they discovered after the fact, in some cases months later. There are certain light patterns on the object. I noticed that it goes from red to blue to green. It's not like it's reflecting light, it's almost like it's emitting a light source, and it's very bright, because in most instances it's from anywhere from 100 yards to maybe 300 or 400 yards away, and the speed that the object is traveling is very, very fast. And because it's so low to the ground, it's not an airplane. It couldn't be an airplane, and it's too large. It's about the size of a medium sedan or a vehicle. So it's not small, but it's not very large either. Okay, so I've done my best here to isolate the object and pull it from the individual clips, and you can really see the individual colors it's emitting now. But one thing that I've really noticed that's very interesting, it's almost like when it changes directions, there's a force field propelling it in the opposite direction. Let me see if I can find a good spot here where this demonstrates this. Here, you'll see it shoots to the right of the screen, and this force field is almost like it's on the left side propelling it to the right. Let me see if I can't find another example. Here we go again. Every time it changes directions, it's darting about, there's a force field on the opposite side propelling it in that direction. So one of the interesting things about the colors that this is emitting is that there will be multiple colors emitting at one time. It almost seems from one light source. As far as I'm concerned, there's nothing else on Earth that can do that I know of. It's definitely not any conventional aircrafts known to man now. Another odd thing is that there seems to be no pattern that I can see to the light force. So it's almost like it's either just a random pattern, or it could be some type of code or message transmitting from the object as well at the same time. Well, my only conclusion after extensive research is that it's an unknown object.
All right, and we certainly hope that you guys have had as much fun as we have, obviously, on this week, Native News Today. I like to think that only The Simpsons rival us in putting out like a great history of Halloween specials and episodes. So there you have it, everyone. I guess that there's a little bit more to me than meets the eye.
Obviously.
Right? Okay, well, I come in peace anyway, so I don't know if I did that right or what. I think that's actually like Star Trek. What am I doing? I'm getting my aliens and Star Treks mixed up. So we've got, you know, over the next course of the month, we've got plenty to keep us busy. We're going to have Native American Month next month. That's exciting. And the Native, I guess you could say, Fall Festival going on at Riverwalk. Are you going to check that out?
Yeah, there will be the art festival. With the fry bread contest, cooking contest.
Okay, so I think like $1,000 to the winner.
Yeah.
It's like $5 to enter and $1,000 to the winner. That's like awesome.
Good deal.
I know, right? And I think it's like November 1st and 2nd, right? So that's next week, folks. Go on out, and it'll be going on, you know, Friday and Saturday next week. Riverwalk, Native Made Arts Fest, like she said. Lots of things for the kids too, and just a great thing to be at. So without further ado, you guys have a great week. We'll see you next week. Native News Today.